middle school social studies class, teacher Victor Fubler introduces new vocabulary using a pre-reading strategy called word splash. The word splash strategy is used to activate prior knowledge, assess prior understanding of a topic, motivate students by having them predict what the text will be saying, and promote active reading. Let's watch as Mr. Fubler has his students predict the meaning of vocabulary words by writing them in complete sentences. Then, they will read a passage containing the word to see if their sentences relate to the subject, so that they can expand on their knowledge of the new word.
And as you see, there are an arrangement of words on the chalkboard here. What I'm going to now do is pass to you a worksheet where you're going to show me your prior knowledge of these terms. Now you see that the title is West African Kingdoms. This is the brainstorming and predicting section. And essentially what you're doing is looking at these terms and writing a complete sentence. You're using these terms to write that complete sentence. Try your best, and you can choose any three of those six, and write them on the lines that you have. I asked them to write a complete sentence of their understanding of the term, to see what their prior knowledge of the word is. Then my hope was that after they read the passage, they would see how it truly related to the subject so that they can expand on their knowledge of that word. Are there any of you that are willing to share one of your sentences based on you have some prior knowledge of these terms and you want to share? Malik, will you please?
For number 3, I put the West African kingdoms have very dry weather, or you can call it drought.
Thank you. Very good. Is there anyone else that would like to share? Yakuba.
One of my sentences was about empire, and I said an empire is a very powerful civilization that can last very long.
Okay. I'd like to hear from one more student. Jim, will you please?
Ghana is one of the cities of the West African Kingdom.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. Now, looking at these terms, is there any word that seems like the all-encompassing word, the word that the others fall under? Yakuba.
Empire.
Okay. Can you arrange these terms in any way so that they follow any particular pattern based on what you see?
Well, an empire can be in any place like Ghana.
Okay.
It can have certain things like drought.
Okay.
And they can trade and use barter.
Okay.
And I don't know what the other word means.
Would you come up and arrange these terms in any way so that, based on your understanding, how they would flow?
Like move them around?
Yes.
There is a new shift in education where everyone realizes that reading is not limited to a reading class or an English class. I think we realize that reading occurs across the curriculum, and teachers need to understand the process. And by presenting strategies, it empowers teachers of ways to make sure that children can read their information. And if they can read it, then they can internalize it and utilize that information.
Okay. Could you explain why and what you're actually showing when you're arranging them in this way?
The empire is the all of it, and Ghana is the name, and droughts fall into another category of Ghana, because that's what happens. And then silent barter, and this is what they barter.
Okay.
And Groyd is off on another side.
Thank you. What I'd like you to do individually is read the passage about Ghana front and back and pay particular attention to the terms that are on this board and see what new understandings you come up with. Traditionally, terms have been introduced where they literally copy the definition out of the textbook, or they answer a section review question and it's highlighting a specific term, and so they just regurgitate what they've read. But in this case, they talk about their prior knowledge of that term, if they have some prior knowledge, and then they read about it as it relates to the text, and they can compare the difference. Because you're seeing now some differences, right, from what you originally said. Good, that's exactly what's supposed to happen. Now that you have a better understanding of these terms, will you please work within your group to revise these sentences and talk with one another what new understanding you have, and at the same time write 3 new sentences.
Ghana is the African country who had an empire from 300 to 1200.
Okay, well, maybe we should put that as one of our sentences.
I guess if you guys want to.
When they had droughts, they often didn't have very much rain, and so it was hard to trade.
A drought came and the people of Ghana had to move.
We have this better.
Okay.
Thank you. I see some awesome sentences. You will now talk with each other to decide which sentences you would like to be posted. And you're going to write them on chart paper, star the sentence that you think is strongest, that you really like, so that you can talk with your group. And you're going to decide which of your 3 sentences will go.
For number 1, I'm right. In the West African Kingdom, there was an empire named Ghana.
Okay, I'm gonna write, Ghana was near the Sahara Desert, so it was very hot and had droughts. Okay, so, here.
How'd you get drought?
Well, a drought is a prolonged dry weather, and that can really cause like burn crops and everything, and that can cause many particular problems even to the most powerful empires.
The structure of the word splash strategy encourages students to think about what they know and process new material in ways they can personally relate to.
But I didn't know what Ghana, I didn't even know that Ghana and the Western Sudan had anything in common, because, you know, I didn't hear anything about what the teacher said about that. But now I have some written material, and now I understand it.
If you write it, maybe you can understand it more.
I think it's better because if you do it in a group, like if you know something, it's like the other person knows something else, you can learn from them.
You can learn the words and like learn new meanings.
When the students have revised their initial predictions, they again process the new information by sharing their sentences with the class.
The first group I would have are these.
Number 1, we said Ghana, and it was the first great Africa empire.
You never learn something new just hearing it once. You have to do something with it. You have to make it your own. And the more we transform ideas into forms that work for us, the more we are retaining them and being able to store them in our memory in ways that then we can retrieve later.
When Ghana began to trade with the North Africans, they weren't allowed to see each other and was called the silent watcher.
Very good, thank you. Using the strategy for the first time was very interesting. I had a lot of fun with it. It's exciting to see the development that I saw the kids experience even within a class period. It truly changes the amount that they grasp and take in.
Of storytelling, poetry, drama, dance, and music.
Thank you very much, thank you.
With the word splash strategy, students brainstorm, predict, and write about the meaning of new words to activate their prior knowledge. Next, they rearrange words to explore relationships. Then, they read the text and compare it to their predictions. They revise their initial sentences to reflect new learning. And finally, they summarize and share their understanding with the class. With this pre-reading strategy in mind, consider the following questions. How did this strategy engage the students prior to reading about Ghana? How could you use this pre-reading strategy in a content area lesson other than social studies? Use your journal to record your ideas.